you explain Save the Children and Jill Biden's role in that organization?
So in 2017, Jill Biden was elected as chair of the board of directors of Save the Children. Save the Children is one of these NGOs that supposedly is supposed to be providing aid and comfort to these children that need a home, or they need to find refuge. That they're the ones that's going to coordinate a sponsor or an adult figure that where they can take the child that says, yeah, my parents abandoned me, or I've been raped, I've been assaulted, I've had a really bad life. Save the Children comes in, they act as that humanitarian aid foundation, they take the child in, and then they try to coordinate the delivery of that child to a so-called sponsor in America, or a sponsor in some third world country that can actually take custody of that child and provide that child with a better life. And Jill Biden was appointed as chair of the board of directors in 2017. And on April 25th of 2024, Save the Children was raided for trafficking children out of Guatemala into America by the Attorney General of Guatemala. Not just Save the Children, but there was 5 NGOs total that were also raided simultaneously with Save the Children, but Save the Children being the kingpin. Save the Children in 1985 was working with Ghislaine Maxwell. In 2003 was working with the Clintons. In 2012 was working with the Obama Foundation. In 2017 was working with Harry and Meghan from the royal family. Pretty much every single person that was on the Epstein list, if we were to assume, we would get the Epstein list, we would assume who was on it. Almost every single person that was on the Epstein list at some point did some type of promotion with Save the Children. Save the Children.
So they were raided by the Guatemalan government for so they would traffic the children and here's the article here. Guatemalan prosecutors raid offices of Save the Children charity. The prosecutors say that this could be a complaint against migrant children's rights, child trafficking. What happened here? Did people go to prison? People go to jail?
They raided the foundation. The crazy part about that is, Benny, is they contacted Ken Paxton, and they wanted to do a collaboration with Ken Paxton because they wanted to not only raid the offices in Texas or in Guatemala, they wanted to simultaneously raid the offices in Texas. But because Ken Paxton was getting attacked by the Biden administration, they assumed that communication between Ken Paxton and their office fell on deaf ears. So that's why I've tried to be on the forefront of this and trying to kind of promote this and put this out there and saying, hey, like Ken Paxton, the Guatemalan Attorney General's office wants to work with you. They want to work with the Trump administration. They've already been in contact with Todd Bensman. They've been in contact with the Trump administration. And they're saying, hey, the Guatemalan Attorney General's office right now is willing to do whatever is necessary to work with the Trump administration to completely eradicate child trafficking, not just eradicate child trafficking, to put an end to this weaponized mass migration. And they're willing to do whatever it takes. And so they raided the foundation, Save the Children. And since raiding that foundation, right, they raided it on April 25th of 2025 or 2024. And for the first time in American history, since we recorded the data, goes all the way back to 2012, the amount of children coming from Guatemala decreased by 23% year over year. To put that into context, over the last 4 years, Benny, 190,052 children have been kidnapped and trafficked out of Guatemala and arrived at our border without a parent. And they've been processed into this system that Alejandro Mayorkas and Xavier Arbazar have created. And then now we can't find 75% of those Guatemalan children. 190,000 children coming out of a country the size that has a population the size of 15 million. That is a mathematical anomaly, Benny. That's not possible. It's not feasibly possible. You know, we've heard stories about the Clintons, right? And we heard about Laura Silsby and the 40 children she tried to kidnap out of Haiti. Twice, Laura Silsby got busted taking 40 children out of Haiti. Whether you want to call that a conspiracy theory or not, I think we're past that at this point. But 40 children coming out of one country, she got busted twice doing it. 190,000 children have been trafficked out of Guatemala, and they've been processed. And the United States government has taken custody of these children. They've processed them into the system, and now we can't find about roughly 75% of those 190,000 children.
Do you have any evidence other than the position and title that Jill Biden was knowingly servicing and allowing for the child trafficking from Guatemala into America, that she willingly and wantonly did that? Because that's a really, Brian, that's a really big bombshell. I mean, for a first lady, it's one thing to have Mayorkas. for First Lady to be a part of an operation like that is demonic.
Benny, it's beyond demonic, and I don't want to make any claims that I can't back up, but I was just given a thumb drive on my last trip to Guatemala 2 days ago. I was so afraid that I didn't even fly back into the United States with this thumb drive. I flew back into El Salvador so I could release this information. And on this thumb drive, I have offshore bank accounts of Todd Robinson. Todd Robinson is the previous ambassador to Guatemala. When you talk about this child trafficking operation that's being ran out of Guatemala, it didn't happen overnight. This is a 5, 10, 20-year operation that was created with USAID, and specific people were put into key positions. And Jill Biden being elected as the chair of the board of directors of Save the Children, and then Save the Children being rated for child trafficking. I mean, obviously, you start to sound like a conspiracy theorist when you start to go down these rabbit holes. So I don't want to make any claims that I can't back up. But as of right now, in my possession, I have offshore bank accounts from Todd Robinson. He was the ambassador of Guatemala, appointed by Barack Obama. And I believe that Trump at one point removed him from power in 2017. So there's a lot more. I also have Thelma Aldana. She's one of the she was one of the previous attorney general of Guatemala. I have her offshore bank accounts. She was in the White House about 4 weeks ago campaigning with Kamala Harris. So we have a fugitive that has a warrant out for arrest in Guatemala, and she's in our White House 4 weeks ago prior to the Trump administration doing photo ops, campaigning for Kamala Harris. And I have her offshore bank accounts right now, Benny. So what is that going to lead to? How is that connected to USAID? How is that connected to Save the Children? I hope people like Pam Bondi, I hope people like Kash Patel are willing to actually dive into this rabbit hole and really, really uncover what our government's been doing for the last 20, 30 years in these third world countries, because it's bad. It's really bad.
I live in Florida, and we actually live in the city where Pam is from, and we know her closely, and our show has a great relationship with her. And I got to tell you, there's not a single individual that fought harder for the death penalty for pederasts in this state than Pam Bondi. And this is something very personal to her, and it's something that has obviously affected the state. We're not too far from Disney. There's a lot of monsters, around that area. And this is something, as the Attorney General of this state, she made a top-line priority, and she got it done. And so I hope that she takes that nationally. I believe, I know this person.